Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about gut feelings. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, would you say that is there anything specific that you might have a gut feeling gut feel that it is a bad idea, but can't really explain what is bad about it? Well, yeah, I suppose so. Uh, but it's actually funny. It's not so often these days where I have a bad gut feeling without having some rationality behind it. I'm not one of those people who usually just go, "Oh, I have a bad feeling," and then I just tell people I have a bad feeling this is going to end bad, and then that's the whole story. I usually do a bit of reflecting and try to really understand why is this giving me a bad sensation. And I've come to realize that at least my intuition for things comes down to a combination of understanding the normal, like the average way people work, and having a bit of foresight into like, well, how's this thing actually going to play out. And it used to be it's actually funny because this knack I have for being able to sort of predict what's gonna happen, most likely. I mean, it's not like I can see the future or anything like that. It's just I have a gut feeling, like based on all the times I've seen someone do a similar sort of thing, or like these are the people I'm dealing with. Like you sort of get to know people and the way they usually behave in under normal circumstances, and when you see enough examples, you start seeing patterns in the way people will act. And so when you get good at that, that's what I argue is that that's intuition. Basically, you have recognized a subtle pattern in a series of events, and that's what your gut is telling you, that something's off here, like something isn't as it's supposed to be, right? And that pattern recognition, I think everybody has it. That's, as I said, is what intuition is, in my opinion, at the very least. But I'm not an expert. And so usually when I get this stuff, back a few years ago, I used to get very frustrated because I could never get anybody who, well, I used to half jokingly refer to myself as the "I told you so" guy, and that basically meant for me that basically meant that it did not matter if I explain to people, like, if you do this, this is going to happen, because people, like the average person, like doesn't think in that way. I realized very quickly, like most people don't have this ability to see like what's going to happen and like how people are going to behave, because I'm guessing now they don't reflect all that much about other people and their interactions and their thoughts, and like they have endless conversations with people trying to understand the way that they behave and act and think and so forth, because most people are focusing more on what people say as opposed to what they're actually doing and like behavior and stuff like that, which I think is like it's the biggest fallacy for a lot of people, because it is the thing that makes it possible for you to fall prey to people who are very good with their words or charisma and so forth, because they know that they can trick you into believing something that goes against what they're actually doing, because you are listening to their words and their energy and their charisma more than you're actually reflecting on what are they actually doing here and what are they standing to gain, like what are the results of this thing, right? And so when that starts happening, well, you tell people that maybe we should do different things differently in the future, but a lot of people just get frustrated with you because they think that you're being smug or something like that, when the reality is that no, like you're not being, yeah, at least I'm not trying to be smug about it. If I turn out to be correct, then it would be nice if I have a track record of being correct. Maybe we should try my way next time. But that usually doesn't work if you're dealing with people who always have the best idea, which is difficult, because then like it's like they are reborn every single time. They quote unquote don't remember history, and so therefore are forced to repeat the mistakes of like, and that's pretty much the way that I've interacted with quite a lot of people. And now I'm older and I am wiser. And I've come to the realization that the only way for you to be ahead of the to foresee, to act before something happens, is if you can convince other people that you are worth listening to, because they cannot by themselves. It's sort of like the politician's game, right? If you don't know the future and you need people to agree, then you're going to have to convince them that you are the right person, or like they're going to have to like you at an individual level. You have to play all these games in order to make them actually allow you. Like they will not do it themselves. They will not see it, usually. And the other way is to do the thing that is tragically the way that I think that most of these things happen, when you cannot get people to act before something happens, and that is to let the whole thing burn. Basically, that what it comes down to. If you have a bad feeling or something like that, you express it. You say that you should probably do this and that, and then people ignore you completely, and then you just prepare for the inevitable crash. So that at the very least, it's sort of, in a sense, it's the mindset is like, rather than being someone who's trying to support people and trying to help people out, you act more as a stock investor or something like that, where like you don't tell people that you have this information, or you know what's going to happen, and you just sort of cover your own bases, because it's the only thing that I've seen that consistently works. Because unfortunately, I'm not gifted in the ways that are necessary to make people believe something that they don't want to believe or listen to, or so forth and so forth. Examples that I see all the time is that I talk to product managers and like different types of stakeholders who we're going to build A, B, and C, and I go, you're not going to be able to build A, B, and C because you're lacking this thing over here. And they say, oh yeah, but it's still going to be fine. Okay, cool, let's do it. And then you try and try and try for months and months and months, and you keep on hitting the same wall, and you have endless meetings about the same problem. The classic one is, we have all these dependencies on other systems, how do we fix this? And I go, we can't. But how do we fix it? We can't. And they will not listen. Like they will not accept the fact that there is a limitation to their ambition, and so they try to find a way. Like, because there are problems that are difficult, and then there are problems that are impossible. The problems that are impossible are when you need something from somebody else and they will not give it to you, no matter how much you try. Then there is nothing you can do. But they will again, these things are foreseeable. These are things that you can figure out way before you have issues. It's the same thing when you design systems and so forth. When I talk to software developers who have like ideas about converting the entire code base into some extremely modern, I'm not saying modern, but like their way of doing things, usually you get a sensation of that, okay, this person is sort of a little bit out there, and this thing might work, but it's more likely going to confuse all the other people who are going to have to maintain it after this person comes along. I had one of those yesterday. So it turns out that we had a team, like this dude, he had created a library that basically removed, funnily enough, the type system from Java. That's what it did. He created a library. So he decided that he didn't want to have a type system for the Java code base of the system, and so he implemented all of the services without the type system, basically creating JavaScript. Well, not really, but you know. So that basically became, and now like the issue, that's the amounts of issues and the work we're going to have to do in order to fix that for all the other people who now own it, where he is no longer here. Well, that's going to be massive. And these are the sorts of decisions that, you know, if you can have a gut feeling about it, but you can't necessarily prove it at the moment because you don't have the problem at that exact moment. But if I ask you, is it a good idea to remove the entire type system, or like all the types from the object structures in Java, nobody's going to be able to explain to you, well, it's going to break this and that. It's not going to have an extreme causality to bugs and issues and so forth. But you're basically, it's sort of like you're going the reverse. You're saying that the type system is bad, therefore we should make it a non-type system, even though the type system is there to protect you, like all of these sorts of things. And that argument can always be done, like when you have these sorts of gut feelings, which is where unfortunately, quite a lot of things happen in the political space where people have a gut feeling about things, and it really comes down to how good is that gut feeling and how likely are you to be correct about that thing, because technically having a type system is not a prerequisite for writing good code. But for those of you who've been working in Java for a little while, if I told you that I was going to do that in your code base, I hope that some pinch in you would go, oh, that's probably a bad idea. What you're experiencing there is exactly what I'm talking about. So what I want you to take away from this is that, yes, of course I have like bad feelings about stuff that I can't fully explain why it's going to fail or so forth. I try to give motivation for it, for all that sort of stuff, and that's, as I've said to you guys, this is just my 2 cents on the matter. Take it from me. If you're one of those people who are fairly gifted with understanding like bigger perspectives and complexities and so forth, say it once, maybe twice, like to people. And if they don't listen to you, just pretend like it's not like that, just then put everything in place. In other words, I will go even as far as to say I've been in situations, guys, where I've seen companies being run into the ground due to the incompetence and like lack of foresight of some people. And it doesn't matter how much goodwill you want to push towards them, because they do not see the world as you do. And so the best thing you can do there, instead of fighting them and becoming frustrated, is, as I said, just get yourself in a good... It's sort of like, if you see the Titanic going down, just put yourself in the lifeboat immediately. Try to warn everybody, try to explain to people that they need to save themselves, this is going to end badly. And then when they ignore you because you're like a crazy person, or like they think you're being negative, etc., etc., okay, cool. Reserve a seat in the lifeboat and just sit and smile until the whole thing crashes. If you're lucky, you're wrong. If you're unlucky, well, then at the very least you have already positioned yourself in the lifeboat. And trust me, guys, you will find it much easier to make headway within practically anything you do that involves groups of people if you take that approach, because the reality is, guys, that the vast majority of people may not either they know something you don't, or in some cases, in quite a lot of cases, especially if you're like a very experienced software developer, it's not a question of that you're wrong, it's a question of that people don't want you to be right. Have a great day.